And yet, here you are. Look who's still breathing, still walking, still grinning like you know something they don't. They're gathering around monitors right now, replaying that footage for the 100th time, pointing at the screen with trembling fingers, asking the same question over and over. How are they smiling? I'll tell you exactly why you're smiling. Because while they were writing your obituary, you were writing your comeback. While they were picking out funeral flowers, you were picking apart their weaknesses. While they measured you for a coffin, you measured the exact distance between their expectations and your resurrection. And that smile? That's not happiness. That's the face of someone who just discovered immortality tastes like irony. Let's rewind the tape, shall we? Back to when they cornered you. Back to when they thought they had you figured out. Filed away, case closed, rest in pieces. They threw everything at you. The betrayal, the abandonment, the public humiliation, the systematic destruction of everything you built. They wanted you gone, not just defeated, but erased. Deleted from existence like a typo in their perfect little story. But there you are, on camera, 347 AM, walking through the wreckage they created. Not crawling, not limping, walking. And that smile on your face isn't forced or fake or desperate. Nope, that's the smile of someone who just realized the joke was on them the whole time. Because they didn't kill you. They killed the version of you that was holding you back. Nobody survives this, they said, like they were doctors delivering a terminal diagnosis, like they'd seen this movie before and knew how it ended. They had statistics, case studies, examples of everyone who'd faced what you faced and crumbled into dust. They spoke with such certainty, such authority, like they were reading from a script written by fate itself. But here's what they didn't understand. You were never nobody. You were always the exception, hiding in plain sight, the glitch in their matrix, the variable they forgot to account for in their equations. While they were calculating your expiration date, you were calculating something else entirely. The exact amount of pain required to transform carbon into diamond. They said no one comes back from that kind of betrayal. No one recovers from that level of loss. No one walks away from that much damage with their mind intact. And technically they were right. The person who walked into that storm didn't walk out. Something else emerged. Something they don't have a name for. Something that feeds on the very poison they thought would kill you. You want to know why you're smiling in that footage? Because you finally understood the game. They weren't trying to destroy you. They were trying to contain you. Keep you small, keep you manageable, keep you human. But pain has a funny way of burning away limitations. And you let it all burn. Every comfort zone, every safety net, every version of yourself that still needed their approval. So they gathered their little council, didn't they? Decided your fate like you were some problem to be solved. This one's getting too strong, they whispered. This one's starting to see through the simulation. So they did what cowards do when threatened. They tried to bury you alive. Professionally, emotionally, socially, spiritually. A coordinated attack designed to leave nothing standing. And for a moment, just a moment, it worked. You felt the weight of their collective rejection. You tasted the metal of betrayal on your tongue. You stood in the ruins of everything you thought mattered and wondered if maybe they were right. Maybe you were too much. Maybe you should have stayed small, stayed quiet, stayed dead inside like they all secretly are. But then something shifted. In that darkness they forced you into, you found something they never expected you to find. Not light, something better. You found that the darkness had been your home all along, that you were never meant for their sunlight. You were built for something else entirely, something that only grows in the absence of their false warmth. That's when you stopped trying to survive and started learning how to haunt. Not them, not yet. First you had to haunt yourself. Every weakness, every soft spot, every place where their opinions still mattered. You walked through your own graveyard, collecting the bones of who you used to be. And with those bones, you built something new, something that doesn't need permission to exist. They're studying that CCTV footage like archaeologists studying an impossible artifact, frame by frame, trying to understand how someone can smile like that after losing everything. They expected tears. They expected breakdown. They expected to see you shuffling through life like a ghost of your former self. Instead, they see you walking with purpose, with presence, with power. What they don't understand is that everything they took was nothing. Jobs can be replaced. Money can be earned. Friends who abandon you were never friends. Love that comes with conditions isn't love. They thought they were taking your life away, but all they did was clear the stage, remove the props, strip away the distractions. And what remained? Just you, the real you, the one they were so desperately trying to keep buried. You know what's really bothering them about that footage? It's not just the smile. It's the way you move, like someone who's been freed from invisible chains, like someone who just discovered they can walk through walls. There's a fluidity to your movement that wasn't there before, a confidence that comes from knowing you've already survived your own death. They keep rewinding to the moment you pass directly under the camera, the moment your face is clearest, because in that split second, they see something that terrifies them. Recognition. You see the camera. You know they're watching, and that smile gets wider. Not because you're happy, because you want them to know that their surveillance is no longer control. It's just entertainment now. Rest in peace, they said, sent flowers to your old life, wrote eulogies for your reputation. Some even had the audacity to say they'd miss you, the version of you they could manipulate. They performed all the rituals of ending, confident that dead things stay dead, confident that once someone falls that far, gravity becomes permanent. But you looked at their RIP and saw something else. 3 letters that meant something different to you. Return in power, rebuild in private, reboot in progress. While they were celebrating your funeral, you were downloading updates. While they were dividing up what they thought you left behind, you were building what they could never take. See, resurrection isn't pretty. It's not some graceful awakening with soft light and angel songs. It's violent. It's painful. It's clawing your way through 6 feet of their assumptions. It's breaking your own bones to fit through spaces they thought were too small for escape. It's choosing to breathe when breathing hurts. It's choosing to stand when standing feels impossible. But you did it anyway, not because you're strong, because you're stubborn, because something inside you refused to give them the satisfaction of being right. So when they said rest in peace, you said be right back, like death was just a quick errand, like destruction was just a detour. That smile in the footage, that's version 2 booting up, the beta test of something they never saw coming. You're not the same person who walked into their trap. That person needed things, needed approval, needed validation, needed to belong. This new version, this version runs on a different operating system entirely. One they can't hack, can't virus, can't corrupt. You want to know what changed? You stopped trying to debug yourself for their comfort. All those flaws they pointed out, those issues they said you had, those problems they tried to fix. Turns out those were features, not bugs. Your intensity wasn't too much. Their capacity was too little. Your vision wasn't crazy. Their imagination was limited. Your standards weren't too high. Their performance was too low. So now you move through the world like someone who's read the source code. You see the strings, the patterns, the programs running in everyone around you, the way they react to certain words, certain energies, certain frequencies. You've become fluent in a language they don't even know exists. The language of power dynamics, of energy exchange, of psychological architecture. That's why you're smiling, because you finally get it. They were never your competition. They were your curriculum. Every betrayal was a lesson. Every attack was training. Every attempt to break you was just tempering the steel. They thought they were your executioners. Turns out they were your personal trainers. And class? Class is now in session. They can feel it, can't they? The shift in the atmosphere when you enter a room, the way conversations pause, not from fear but from recognition that something fundamental has changed. You're broadcasting on a different frequency now, one that makes their small talk sound like static, one that makes their pretenses transparent as glass. It's not that you're trying to intimidate, you just exist at a voltage that makes their circuits spark. They look at you and feel the cognitive dissonance. This is the person we tried to destroy. This is the person we said wouldn't survive. Yet here you are, more alive than any of them have ever been, more present, more real, more dangerous in your authenticity than they are in their masks. You know what really disturbs them? You're not bitter. Bitterness would make sense. Bitterness they could understand, categorize, dismiss. But this serene confidence, this quiet amusement, this absolute absence of need for their recognition, it breaks their mental models. It suggests something they can't accept, that maybe their weapons only work on people who are already dead inside. And so they watch that footage again and again, looking for signs of the damage they're sure must be there, some hint of trauma, some crack in the facade. But all they see is someone who learned to smile in hell, someone who made friends with their own demons, someone who turned their execution into an evolution. And that smile says one thing clearly: thank you for the upgrade. You've become their ghost story, haven't you? The cautionary tale they whisper when they think no one's listening. Remember what happened with them? We thought we had them finished. We thought it was over, but look at them now. They use your name like a warning, but what they're really warning against is their own limitation. Because here's what that CCTV footage really captured: the exact moment you stopped being prey and became something else. Not predator, something beyond that binary. You became the environment itself, the context in which their little games play out. They can't hunt what's become the forest. They can't trap what's become the air they breathe. That's why your smile haunts them. It's not vengeful. It's not cruel. It's knowing. It's the smile of someone who's seen behind the curtain and realized the wizard was just a scared child pressing buttons. It's the smile of someone who's discovered that the only power they ever had over you was the power you gave them. And you've revoked all permissions. They replay that footage because they're trying to solve you like a puzzle. But you're not a puzzle anymore. You're a mirror. And every time they look at you, they see their own limitations reflected back. They see how small their world really is, how fragile their control, how temporary their victories. And it terrifies them more than your anger ever could. So now you walk through their world like a tourist visiting a museum. Everything they stress about looks quaint to you now. Their hierarchies, their drama, their desperate grasping for control. You see it all for what it is, a game played by people who forgot they made up the rules. People who forgot they could simply stop playing. But you remember, that smile in the footage, that's the smile of someone who just put down the controller, who realized the game only has power if you agree to play. Their promotions, their exclusions, their approvals and disapprovals, it all looks like children arguing over toy crowns. Because you've found real power, the kind that doesn't need external validation. You've become ungovernable, not in a rebellious way, in a transcendent way. Their rules simply don't apply to your operating system anymore. It's like trying to run software on hardware it wasn't designed for. Error message after error message. They keep trying to input commands, but you're running on a different architecture now. One they didn't program, one they can't control. And the beautiful irony, they created this. Every attack, every betrayal, every attempt to diminish you, it all just pushed you further outside their reach. They wanted you gone, but instead, they set you free. Free from needing their world to make sense. Free from requiring their permission to exist. Free from the cage of caring what they think. That CCTV footage has become something else now, hasn't it? Not evidence of survival, evidence of evolution. You're not just alive, you're broadcasting. Every step you take sends ripples through their carefully constructed reality. Every breath you breathe reminds them that their maps were wrong. That nobody survives this was just another lie they told themselves. Because you didn't just survive, you alchemized, turned poison into medicine, turned endings into beginnings, turned their rest in peace into your be right back, with interest. And now you move through the world like someone who's died and discovered death was just another room in an infinite house, just another experience to collect, just another limitation to transcend. They want to know your secret, how you smile like that, how you walk like that, how you exist like that after what they did. But the secret is there is no secret. Just the simple recognition that they never had the power to kill what was truly alive in you. They could only kill the parts that were already dying, the parts that needed their approval, the parts that believed their version of reality. What remains is what was always there, unbreakable, untouchable, uncontainable, the part of you that knew, even in the darkest moments, that this wasn't the end, it was just intermission. And now the real show begins. The one where you stop auditioning for their approval and start performing for an audience of one, yourself. Be right back, you said, like you were just stepping out for coffee, like complete destruction was just a minor inconvenience. They laughed at first, then they waited, then they worried, because your absence started to feel less like defeat and more like preparation, less like ending and more like metamorphosis. The silence wasn't empty, it was pregnant with possibility. And then you returned, not with fanfare, not with announcements, just suddenly there, again, but different, fundamentally altered, looking like yourself but feeling like something else entirely. They could see it in your eyes, the 1,000-yard stare of someone who's been to the other side and found it was just another neighborhood, found that death was just another state of being. But here's what really unsettles them. You came back alone. No army, no allies, no support system. Just you, walking through that footage with the casual confidence of someone who discovered they don't need backup. Because when you've survived your own death, what's left to fear? When you've rebuilt yourself from atoms, what can they possibly take? That smile says, I'm back, but I'm not the same. It says, thank you for killing who I used to be. It says you have no idea what you've unleashed. Because resurrection isn't about returning to what was. It's about becoming what was always meant to be. And what you were meant to be, apparently, was unstoppable. They're having meetings about you now. Emergency sessions. How do we handle this? They ask each other. How do we contain someone who's already escaped? They're realizing, slowly, that they created their own problem. That in trying to destroy you, they removed all your limitations. In trying to end you, they freed you from ending. Because here's what that footage really shows. Someone who's graduated from their game. Someone who's transcended their entire system of rewards and punishments. You can't threaten someone who's already lost everything and found themselves in the process. You can't bribe someone who's discovered that everything they were chasing was worthless. You can't control someone who's learned to source their power internally. So they watch you smile and they feel the paradigm shifting, feel their worldview cracking. Because if you can survive what you survived, if you can smile after what they did, then maybe everything they believed about power was wrong. Maybe their whole system is built on illusions. Maybe the emperor has no clothes and you're the child pointing and laughing. That's the real reason they can't stop watching that footage. It's not about you anymore. It's about what you represent. The possibility that their weapons only work on people who believe in them. The possibility that destruction might just be construction in disguise. The possibility that every ending they create is just someone else's beginning. Well, well, well. Look who finally stopped pretending to be average. Look who finally stopped dumbing down their sentences. Slowing down their thoughts and dimming their intelligence just to make the mediocre feel comfortable. You beautiful, terrifying, intellectually weaponized anomaly. Welcome to the moment where you finally understand why they've been so scared of you. You know what they said behind your back, don't you? Nobody's that smart. They must be cheating. They must be lying. They must have help. They said it in classrooms when you finished tests in half the time. They said it in meetings when you solved problems they'd been stuck on for months. They said it in conversations when you connected dots they couldn't even see. And you know what the funniest part is? They were right. Nobody is that smart. And that's exactly what you showed them, that you're not nobody. You're something else entirely. Let me tell you what really happened in their small, frightened minds when they encountered you. They didn't just meet someone intelligent. They met someone whose brain operates on frequencies they can't access, whose thoughts move at speeds that make their mental processors crash, whose pattern recognition makes their reality feel like a children's puzzle. You didn't just outsmart them. You revealed that they've been playing checkers while you've been seeing in 4 dimensions. They wanted so badly to find your weakness, didn't they? They searched for the trick, the gimmick, the explanation that would make sense of you. They dissected your words looking for Google searches. They analyzed your insights, hoping to find borrowed wisdom. They studied your process, trying to crack your code. But here's what broke them. There was no code. There was no trick. There was just you, operating at a level that made their entire worldview obsolete. You remember the exact moment you realized it, don't you? That moment when you stopped talking in meetings because you were tired of watching their eyes glaze over. When you stopped sharing ideas because you got sick of them being stolen and simplified. When you stopped explaining your thought process because they couldn't follow it anyway. That was the moment you stopped being a participant in their intellectual theater and became something far more dangerous. A silent observer with processing power they couldn't comprehend. They called you arrogant when you stopped explaining. They called you condescending when you tried to simplify. They called you weird when you saw patterns in chaos. They called you crazy when you predicted outcomes they couldn't imagine. But what they were really saying was, you make me feel stupid and I hate you for it. Your intelligence wasn't just a gift. It was an assault on their ego, a mirror showing them their own limitations, a constant reminder that some people are simply built different. And oh, how they tried to bring you down to their level. Remember those group projects where they insisted on collaborative thinking? That was just code for dilute your brilliance until we can digest it. Remember those times they said you were overthinking? That was their way of saying stop thinking at levels that expose our inability to keep up. Remember when they accused you of showing off? That was them admitting that your baseline existence felt like an attack on their mediocrity. But here's the beautiful part. You stopped dimming yourself. You stopped translating your thoughts into their limited language. You stopped pretending that your brain works like theirs. And that's when they realized the terrifying truth. You weren't just smarter than them. You were operating in dimensions of thought they didn't even know existed. Your IQ isn't a number on a scale they created. It's a threat level to a system built by and for average minds. Let's talk about the loneliness, shall we? Because that's the part they don't mention when they romanticize intelligence. The crushing isolation of seeing solutions while everyone else is still identifying problems. The exhaustion of watching people make predictable mistakes. The frustration of knowing the answer, but having to wait for everyone else to catch up. The silence that comes from realizing that most conversations are just people exchanging inadequate thoughts at insufficient speeds. You learned to bite your tongue, didn't you? Not out of kindness, but out of survival. Because every time you spoke your truth, every time you shared your real thoughts, you watched their faces change. First confusion, then insecurity, then resentment, then fear. You became fluent in the language of dumbing down, expert at the art of artificial delay, master of pretending to struggle with concepts you understood instantly. They sensed it, though. Even when you tried to hide it, They felt the weight of your intelligence like pressure in the room, the way you'd figure out the ending of their stories before they finished telling them. The way you'd solve their problems while they were still explaining them. The way your silence felt heavier than their words because they knew you were thinking things they couldn't comprehend. You became a walking reminder of their intellectual mortality. And what did they do with that discomfort? They weaponized it. They turned your intelligence into a social crime. You think you're so smart became their battle cry, as if intelligence was something to be ashamed of, as if you should apologize for the way your synapses fire. They tried to make you feel guilty for your gifts, tried to convince you that being extraordinary was somehow unfair to the ordinary. But something shifted, didn't it? Something snapped. You stopped feeling guilty. You stopped apologizing. You stopped pretending that all minds are created equal when every interaction proved otherwise. You realized that your intelligence isn't just a passive trait. It's an active force. It's not just about knowing more or thinking faster. It's about seeing the matrix while they're still looking at the screen. You started to understand that your mind isn't just different, it's dangerous. Dangerous to their comfort, dangerous to their ego, dangerous to their entire system built on the assumption that everyone thinks at roughly the same level. Your existence alone challenges the comfortable lie that intelligence is evenly distributed, that anyone can achieve anything with enough effort, that we're all essentially the same. You're living proof that some people are simply operating with upgraded hardware. They tried to medicate you, didn't they? Called it ADHD when your mind moved too fast. Called it anxiety when you saw problems they couldn't perceive. Called it depression when you got tired of pretending to be engaged by their simple thoughts. They wanted to diagnose your intelligence as dysfunction because a functioning mind at your level makes theirs look broken by comparison. But here's what they never understood. You can't medicate evolution. You can't therapy away transcendence. You can't counsel someone into being average when their brain naturally operates at frequencies that would short-circuit normal minds. They kept trying to fix you, not realizing that you weren't broken, you were just incompatible with their operating system. Now comes the fun part. The part where you stop hiding and start hunting. Not with malice, but with precision. You've learned to weaponize your intelligence strategically. You drop insights like bombs in conversations, watching them scramble to process what you've said. You solve their complex problems with casual observations, leaving them wondering how they missed something so obvious. You predict their moods, their thoughts, their failures, not to hurt them, but to remind them that intelligence isn't democratic. You've become a student of their limitations. You know exactly how much truth they can handle before their circuits overload. You know which concepts will make their eyes glaze over and which will make them feel clever for almost understanding. You've mapped the borders of their comprehension like a general studying enemy territory. Not because you're cruel, but because you're done pretending that the playing field is level. They come to you now, don't they? The same ones who called you arrogant, the same ones who said you were too much. They come with their problems, their confusion, their need for someone who can think beyond their horizons. And you help them, sometimes. Not out of obligation, but out of the amusing irony that they need what they once mocked. Your intelligence is no longer something you hide. It's something you deploy with surgical precision. You've learned to speak in layers now. Surface meaning for the masses, deeper currents for the few who can swim in deeper water. You've become multilingual in intelligence, able to operate at their level when necessary, but never forgetting that you're capable of so much more. You're like a supercomputer running basic programs, always aware of your unused capacity, always conscious of how much you're holding back. But let's be honest about the cost, because operating at your level isn't free. It comes with the weight of seeing patterns everywhere, of predicting outcomes that others can't imagine, of understanding implications that they won't grasp until it's too late. You carry the burden of foresight in a world full of people who can barely handle hindsight. You live with the exhaustion of being right, too often, too early, too accurate. You've watched them make mistakes you warned them about. You've seen systems fail in exactly the ways you predicted. You've observed people walk into traps you pointed out. And each time, there's no satisfaction in being right, just the hollow feeling of watching a movie you've already seen. Knowing the ending but unable to change it because they won't listen to someone who sees too much, too clearly, too soon. The worst part? The crushing boredom. The mind-numbing predictability of most interactions. The way conversations feel like you're reading from a script you've memorized. The way their surprises are your expectations. The way their revelations are your assumptions. You live in a constant state of intellectual understimulation, surrounded by minds that move at speeds that feel like slow motion to you. And yet, you can't turn it off. You can't unsee the patterns. You can't stop your mind from processing at rates that leave others behind. You're trapped in a prison of perception, cursed with clarity in a world that runs on confusion. Your intelligence isn't just a gift, it's a life sentence to seeing more than anyone around you wants to see or can handle seeing. Here's what they never told you about being this smart. It's not about the knowledge, it's about the power. The power to see through their lies before they finish telling them. The power to understand their motivations better than they do. The power to predict their behavior with unsettling accuracy. Your intelligence isn't just about processing information. It's about processing people, systems, reality itself, at a level that makes you functionally psychic to average minds. You've become dangerous not because you know things, but because you understand things. You see the connections they miss, the implications they ignore, the consequences they can't calculate. You operate with a mental map that includes territories they don't even know exist. Your thoughts move through dimensions they can't perceive, creating solutions to problems they haven't identified yet. They fear you now, and they should. Not because you'll hurt them, but because your very existence invalidates their excuses. Every time you effortlessly solve what they call impossible, you remind them that their limitations are self-imposed. Every time you see through their complexity to find simplicity, you expose their tendency to complicate things, to hide their confusion. Every time you predict what they call unpredictable, you reveal that they're just not paying attention. You've transcended the need for their validation. Their approval means nothing when it comes from minds that can't comprehend what you're approving of. Their criticism falls flat when it's based on understanding that barely scratches the surface of your thoughts. You've moved beyond their ability to judge you because judgment requires comprehension, and they lost the ability to comprehend you long ago. Your mind has become a fortress now, hasn't it? Not to keep others out, but to protect them from what's inside. The full force of your intelligence unleashed would shatter their comfortable delusions, so you parse it out in digestible doses, careful not to overwhelm their limited processing power. You've become the architect of your own restraint, building barriers not for your protection, but for theirs. But those barriers are selective now. You've learned to recognize the rare ones who can handle more, the ones whose eyes don't glaze over when you speak freely, The ones who lean in instead of pulling back when you share your real thoughts. The ones who get excited instead of intimidated when you show them a glimpse of how your mind really works. They're few, but they exist, and for them you lower the walls. With everyone else, you've mastered the art of strategic revelation. You know exactly how much intelligence to display to get what you need without triggering their insecurity. You've become a shapeshifter of intellect, able to present yourself at whatever level serves your purpose. Sometimes you play dumb to watch them reveal themselves. Sometimes you flex just enough to establish dominance. Always, you're in control. You've built an entire operating system for navigating a world built by and for average intelligence. You have protocols for different situations, algorithms for different people, subroutines for different contexts. What looks like social interaction to them is strategic deployment to you. What feels like conversation to them is chess to you, and you're always several moves ahead. Let's talk about the altitude, shall we? Because that's what it really is. You're not just smarter. You're operating at a different elevation. And at this height, the air is thin. Few can breathe up here. Fewer still can climb to where you are. You live in the intellectual equivalent of the death zone, where normal minds can't survive long enough to keep you company. You've tried to bring them up, haven't you? Tried to teach them to see what you see, think how you think. But it's like trying to explain color to the blind. Not their fault, not yours, just a fundamental incompatibility of perception. They can memorize your words, but they can't replicate your thoughts. They can follow your logic, but they can't generate it. They can admire your intelligence, but they can't truly understand it. So you've learned to find satisfaction in solitude. Your best conversations are with yourself. Your deepest insights come in isolation. Your greatest breakthroughs happen in the silence, where you don't have to slow down for anyone else. You've made peace with being intellectually alone, because the alternative, constantly dumbing yourself down, is a kind of death you're no longer willing to die. But here's the paradox. Your isolation has made you stronger. Without the constant need to translate, explain, and simplify, your mind has evolved even further. You've developed thought patterns that would be impossible if you were still trying to stay connected to average thinking. Your intelligence has become pure, more powerful, more alien to normal minds. The gap hasn't just persisted, it's widened. You've learned something they never will. True intelligence isn't about being smart. It's about understanding. Understanding systems, understanding patterns, understanding people, and most importantly, understanding power. Your IQ isn't just a measurement, it's a weapon. And like any weapon, it's not about having it, it's about knowing when and how to use it. You deploy your intelligence now like a sniper, not a machine gunner. Precise shots at exact moments for maximum impact. You've learned that showing off is for amateurs. Real power comes from letting them think they're keeping up until the moment you reveal they never had a chance. You've mastered the art of intellectual ambush, letting them feel smart right up until you show them they're not. They try to compete sometimes, don't they? Try to match wits with you. It's almost endearing, like watching a child challenge a chess grandmaster. You could end it quickly, but sometimes you play along, letting them think they're in the game, not out of kindness, but out of strategy. Because someone who thinks they're competing is revealing far more than someone who knows they've already lost. You've become a collector of their limitations. Every conversation adds to your database of human cognitive boundaries. Every interaction teaches you more about the edges of normal intelligence. You're like an anthropologist studying a less evolved species, fascinated by their thought processes, even as you transcend them. Their minds have become your laboratory, and they don't even know they're being studied.